little while since I've made a tutorial, and this tutorial is going to be a little unusual. It's not going to be a step-by-step tutorial of how to paint a painting, but this is my most recent painting, and it is the sequel to my husband's first book. His first book is Ghislain and Trahaearn. This is Ghislain, this is Trahaearn, and this book here, the sequel, is Ghislain and Raimbaut. This is a great book, by the way. I am not a reader, and I read the book because my husband wrote the book, and I had to read it because I wanted to be a supportive wife. I really didn't know what to expect. He'd been working on it a long time. I was excited about it, but I didn't know that I would enjoy it as much as I did. It's a great book. The first couple of chapters are a little rough because there's some unpleasantries. It sets the stage for the life of this young man, Ghislain, and his dog, Trahaearn. So I hope you enjoy the book as much as I did. Once I got going on this book, I couldn't put it down. I would look at it, I would read it, and I'd be like, how many more pages in this chapter? Okay, I can do it. All right. And then I'd read that, and then I'd be like, let's see, how many pages is in the next chapter? And I would just keep on reading and reading. I got through it really quick for somebody that does not like to read. I think it would make a great miniseries. And hey, Hollywood, we already know who we want to play, the young Ghislain and the older Ghislain. It's not even published until October 1st. I'm going to have links below if you'd like to check this out. You can get through Amazon or Kindle, you can get through Amazon. And then there's the Audible. And Peter Walters is the Audible voiceover actor. Fantastic. He does such a good job. I'm putting a plug in for my husband and his books and for Peter Walters, the voiceover actor. If you have a book that you want done on Audible, I highly recommend him. Anyway, I hope you enjoy my video. It's just kind of showing you the process that I did and the collaboration between my husband and I as far as where to put the name and all that, and to put his name as the author. I hope you enjoy it. So here I'm just blocking in all the colors in the areas that they'll need to be as the underpainting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little sample of Larry's first book, Ghislain and Trahaearn, and while I'm putting this underpainting on. So here it goes.
It was a long time before Ghislain and the pup finally made it to the place his father had told him that he should go, with the intent to board a ship bound for England. For a time, during the days upon days of walking, he suspected they were lost and might never find the place. They ended up in Bayonne, and then it was another couple more hours to a coastal whaling town called Biarritz. Some Basque whalers tried to talk him into remaining and becoming one of them. They promised that after a year or two he could go to England if he still so desired. These men were a hardy and stubborn bunch. They were not going to take no for an answer. The 40 livres Momo had given him turned out to be 8 gold écus and 12 silver quarter écus, and Ghislain was in constant fear that someone would steal his monies. Finally, on the second night after their arrival, the opportunity presented itself for them to make their escape when a thick fog rolled in from the sea. The whalers were, most of them, either drunk or asleep in their tents. He grabbed little fellow and they were off. They headed south following the coast. Eventually they would come to Saint-Jean-de-Luz. For much of the long journey, he had carried his little black and white puppy on his shoulder or nestled under one arm or other. The things that he possessed, besides the pup, amounted to a knife, which he kept in a leather scabbard tied to his belt, and his shepherd's bag. In the bag was a cup, a spoon, a pan, a few vegetables, and his bulging coin purse. Of course, he always carried his flint and steel along with a small amount of dry tinder. At nightfall, he would look for a sheltered place out of the wind where no one would take notice of them. Some nights they'd go to sleep hungry. Other nights they would be well fed and satisfied. He didn't think about.
So there's a little tiny sample of the book. I'm going to do a little bit more from that area on, just that little sample section of Audible. And but I'm almost done with this blocking in. I wanted to mention that the mountain in the background there is supposed to resemble Mount Katahdin in Maine, because both of the books took place in Wales and in Maine. So just wanted to let you know that. It's not the exact representation of the mountain, but it's basically what Mount Katahdin looks like. Here I'm just putting some details in the mountain, some shadowing, and so from here on out on the painting I'm just adding the details. I'm going to put some pine trees in the front, and it'll be a really nice main scene. I hope you enjoy this little sample of the book. I'm going to play just a little bit more.
All the terrible tragedies, he just couldn't do it. He had to keep thinking ahead. He had to survive, and he had to keep the little pup alive and well. It was all he had now. Maybe in a few days or weeks he would stop and think about it, what all had happened the summer of his 16th birthday. Perhaps someday he would return, go to Spain and exact vengeance on the inquisitors. But he had to grow up first and raise little fellow to become even stronger than Ranger was. They'd go to live in England for a while and then return. When we come back, little fellow, we'll have 3 granite stones put there, with their names marked on the stones, and I'll plant flowers around the graves. I will cover the whole area with red pasque flowers, and the yellow. I forget what she called the yellow ones. Little fellow was already asleep. On the second day, after leaving Biarritz, they made it. Right there in front of their eyes was Saint-Jean-de-Luz. He hoped his father was proud of him for making it this far. The sandy beach was a hustle and bustle filled with activity. At least 5 ships that he could see were being built close to the water, so that when finished they could be launched into the waiting ocean. The glorious sunshiny day made the water look so blue and endless. He had never seen water wider than the Gave de Pau River until arriving in Biarritz just days before. But here, in Port de Saint-Jean-de-Luz, the ocean looked even more impressive. There were several ships safely anchored out in the port's natural harbour. One of the ships had hoisted its sails and looked to be heading out to some distant shore, he imagined. The boat builders were busy moving lumber from horse-drawn wagons to the skeletal vessels in various stages of completion. One such ship looked to be nearly finished. Its 3...
So I'm going to stop there on that sample and just talk a little bit about, here's Ghislain and Raimbaut. I'm going to paint here on the rock. I'm just going to put a little sort of a, not really a silhouette, because it is going to have, you're going to be able to see the color of his of the dog basically, and the color of the Indian type outfit that he has on. So I just put his figure in for there from now, and then I'll put the details in a little bit later on. And I'm adding some pine trees, which of course are very popular in Maine, as everyone knows. And we'll put those in there. So the dog in the story of Ghislain and Trahaearn, the one that we're listening to the sample of, that dog was part Pyrenean Mastiff and part Tibetan Mastiff. And so he was a crossbreed. Now, the dog in the new book is a full-blooded Pyrenean Pyrenean Mastiff. So, hope I didn't butcher that on my poor husband. Pyrenean Mastiff. Big, huge dog. The Indians were like in awe at the size of these dogs. So it's pretty cool little detail of the stories. I hope you enjoy it. So this story is a historical fiction, and there may possibly be a third book in the near future. So we'll look forward to that too. And I just think it'd be a great little mini-series. Other people have expressed that same thing to me. The story is a really terrific little story. So here I'm putting some really pretty colors into the sunset, into the sky, the sunset part of the sky. And I'll pull that orange right down into that blue that's right above the mountain, and that mountain will stand out very nicely. So I'm going to play the rest of that little sample for you real quick. So I hope you enjoy listening to it.
Tall masts were taller than any of the trees Ghislain had seen back home. Apparently, no one noticed the boy standing there with torn clothing and dishevelled hair, with a funny-looking black and white dog running circles around him.
So that was it. That was the end of the sample for Audible. Oh, sorry, that's my dog shaking her collar. So I hope you enjoyed that, and that's just a tiny little sample of the book, and we'll just talk a little bit about the painting here, and bringing some reflection down into the water. I love the colors. Here my husband and I are sort of collaborating on where to put the title, and then where to put his signature. And so he wanted the signature down there in the bottom, right in the middle of the orange reflection in the water. So as you can see from my little footnote there, that boulder went through a major transformations. Couldn't get it quite to what I wanted, so it completely changes until it is a good looking boulder. That painting in the background is a pet portrait I did of my daughter's dog, and it's a beautiful Belgian German Shepherd. So pretty. So now the boulder has pretty much got its shape, and we're going to work on putting some details into Raimbaut. Raimbaut is spelt Raimbaut, and he's a big, huge dog. I didn't paint him as big as he will be until my husband came in and said, oh, he needs to be way bigger than that. So then I add a little bit more detail to him. And of course, Ghislain is a very muscular man. He had to be very strong to go through all the things that he went through. Once you read the book, you'll see, I mean, he had quite an adventurous life, and he had to be very muscular. So I put on like a rope type belt. It's Indian garb or outfit. So just adding some big rounded muscles to those arms. And I am going to make Raimbaut a lot bigger in a minute. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I've had some difficult things happening in my life, and I haven't been posting tutorials, but I think I'm gonna get back in the game and start posting some tutorials now. So that's my plan anyway. So if you like and subscribe, you'll be notified of the next tutorial coming up. Soon I'll be doing a tutorial of a little chihuahua, that little black chihuahua I had talked about in previous films, and he'll be sitting in a lawn, similar to the one the White Australian Shepherd, Sandy, and I look forward to painting that. So I'm looking here at the Amazon link to my husband's book, and he has 22 ratings. This is a fairly new book, of course. He has 22 ratings, and all but one of them are 5-star. I just thought I'd read you a couple of them, which tells you a little bit more about the story. This one person said, "It was an enjoyable read. I really enjoyed this story. The details and the historical settings and descriptions of the different lands and the people really pulls you in. Ghislain is a lovable character with a good heart. I was really rooting for him through all of his ups and downs, and there are many. I love the relationship between him and his dog Trahaearn. As a dog lover, I found it endearing and so true." And then there was another one that says, I thought this was really nice. "A nice journey and a good story through the 16th century New World. I found all the characters came to life with good story development. Enjoyed the 16th century historical details throughout the chapters and indeed learned some things. It's been a while since reading any historical fictional works for me, but I'd recommend anyone to enjoy this book and life story. My thumbs up," he says. That was nice. And here's another nice one. They're all nice. This one says, "Much more than a story of a boy and a dog, the book reminds us of the value of enduring power of love and friendship in spite of adversity." That was very nice. And then another one says, "I love stories about animals, especially dogs. I think the author did a great job developing the story and creating a unique bond between a dog and its owner." The next one, "Can't help but feel good reading this book. This is a true adventure story about a young man and his puppy as they live their adventurous lives, exciting warriors, battles, mountains, islands, then finally find their way home. This one pulled me in from beginning to end." So there's some really great reviews here, and I think that you'll enjoy it too. I hope you're enjoying watching my painting. I think it's a really pretty painting. I'm going to frame it and hang it in my husband's his little office where he does all his writing. So here I'm adding some details to down some bushes and some grasses and details around the boulder, and adding some moss growing on the boulder. Adding a little bit of highlights to the trees and the little islands there, and bringing that sunshine in. So I really hope you enjoyed watching the video and hearing a little bit about the book that Larry wrote, and I'm really looking forward to the sequel, the one that this will be a cover for, and I hope you're looking forward to it too, now that you've heard about this, and maybe you'll read the first book. I'm going to, like I said, put links in the description below. Here I'm adding some sunlight to the sky, a little bit more of the sunshine, and we bring that yellow down into the reflection in the water a little bit, and add some more details to the painting. It made it look really pretty. So while I'm doing that and you're watching that, I was going to read this other really great review. It says, "It felt like a classic. I really enjoyed this book. It was a beautiful story, stirring all emotions. This story is filled with action. I kept turning the pages anticipating how Ghislain would deal with each challenge, trial, new circumstances, love and loss. I loved the loyalty of his beautiful dog. The details in this story are amazing. If you enjoy history and geographical references, I'm hoping for a sequel. Great read." Anyway, that tells you a little bit more about the book, and So I know this was an unusual tutorial, and I am going to tell you a little bit about some upcoming tutorials and some ideas that I have after I've completed this painting with you here. And here I'm just adding a little sunshine to the top of the mountain and some little reflective sunbeams on the trees and those little foothill trees there. So October 1st, the new book will be released on Amazon, and we won't be having an Audible of it right away. We'll see how well it does, and we'll go from there. But I love the fact that the first book is on Audible, because like I said, I'm not a big reader, so I actually wanted to kind of, before I read the sequel, I want to listen to the Audible all over again to get the details back into my mind, things I may have forgotten, so that the Audible just kind of falls into place that way. So again, I just want to say I hope that you like this video and that you'll subscribe to my channel and be ready for some upcoming videos. I had kind of taken a little break, had some difficult things happening in my life, and wasn't in the right frame of mind to make tutorials, but I'm ready to start making some now, so I'll be more regular about it unless some other unforeseen occurrence befalls me. But so there, I love all the little accents of sunlight hitting the trees, and just kind of really brings things to life. Here I'm adding like a glaze I made with blue and water, really watered down blue, so that those reflections will still show up, but it just puts a little hint of the blue over the reflections just to kind of subdue it a little bit. And here I'm just pulling a little bit of the reflection from the actual Mount Katahdin there. And if you look at the mountain, remember I mentioned that I had to trim it down a little. I made it straighter on the right hand facing side of the mountain. So now it actually looks a little bit more like the real mountain. I've been to Mount Katahdin before. I don't think I mentioned that already in this video, but when I was a little girl, I spent, grew up a lot of my life in Maine, so as a child I went to Mount Katahdin. It's a beautiful place. It's the end or the beginning, I guess, whichever way you look at it, of the Appalachian Trail. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about my plans for my next tutorials. Okay, thank you so much. I hope to have some very interesting videos in the future. I'm going to make some cards, homemade cards. Nowadays, there are so many things going on in people's lives. One of the most special things that a person can receive is a handwritten card from somebody. So I want to start showing you how to make your own little greeting cards, something that you can paint a really cute, simple little painting on a greeting card and then send it off with a handwritten note to somebody, and that is going to make them feel so loved and so special. So I hope you'll join me for that project soon. And here you go, meet the author of the book, Larry K. Landau, and his dogs, Cookie and Blue. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much for watching.